Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, live here at For Your Glory International Ministries here in Summerville, South Carolina. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's an honor and a privilege to know where you are, where you live. We're here in Summerville, South Carolina. To my left, he's a first-time guest. He's running for Mayor of Summerville, South Carolina, the one and only Mr. Bill Hearn. How you doing, sir?
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. All right. Summerville, South Carolina started as a township. It's a big city. It has very grown the past, I would say the past 10 years. A lot of things have changed from exit 199 all the way down to 197, 195. New structures coming here. We've been Mercedes-Benz. We have the Volvo on exit 189. So we're close to making different changes. So we had the current mayor, Mr. Wiley Johnson, here on our show. What would you do different? What is your plan if you ever get the opportunity to become mayor here at Summerville, South Carolina?
That's an interesting question because it's actually the reason I'm running. And of course, the current mayor, the incumbent, has chosen not to run. But very early on, he really dug in, was pushing for a strong mayor form of government. In 2016, the citizens voted 60% to keep it a weak mayor strong council form of government. You've got to recognize what you're working with. You've got to recognize the form of government you're in. You've got to be able to count to 4. We have 7 members of town council. You've got to be able to count to 4 votes. And you can't force a supermajority on town council to do something just because you say so. And I'll put it this way, and here we are in the Lord's house, but you need to approach the Mayor of Summerville's job with humility and with a servant's heart. I mean, you really do. And people really don't care who you are or where you've been. They want to know what you're about, and you got to walk the walk. And I think the next Mayor of Summerville, there's going to be an adjustment period to kind of convince the town council and the town that it's different. There's a change, and I want to bring that change. I want to represent all of Summerville, and it's right off the rip. And just continuing your question, immediately want to, even though I am currently on Dorchester County Council, I want to go back to Dorchester County Council, to Berkeley County Council, to Charleston County Council, to Goose Creek, to North Charleston, and even down to Charleston, and say, I'm now the mayor, I'm here, I want to work with each and every one of you. There are too many problems out there that Summerville has relative to traffic growth infrastructure that we, as Summerville, cannot solve them by ourselves. We've got to work regionally, we've got to work collaboratively. It's funny, I've been saying that word for 20 months and couldn't get it out, but it is, that is what we need to be doing. And unfortunately, right now, Summerville has lost its place at the regional table. I mean, that's a tough thing to say, but the relationships are gone. We've got to reestablish those relationships. If we're going to get funding, if we're going to work with other jurisdictions, we share roads, we share flooding problems. We've got to work with these governments to make that happen.
Wow. So just listening to you, I guess we have what's called a fellowship problem, is what you would say in the church. We don't like fellowshipping well with one another, and you want to bridge that gap and be able to fellowship more, get to have a better understanding of who your neighbor is. So how are you going to get the business side to change? I mean, it's growing. You do have the new fundamental of the housing structure that's off of close to 197. That's being done. The stretching that out so that a lot of those people, when they get on the interstate, are not just bombarded with heavy traffic. So that's another help there.
Yes.
What about the business side? I know a lot of times I spoke to the mayor currently about bringing some of the tech giants here. I know we have Google that's in Mounts Corner, but it's really not a fellowship situation. It's like a locked-in, closed door, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where you gotta have the golden ticket
Yes,
to
sir.
get in, to actually get into Google. So how would you be able to bring some of the tech giants to come here and be part of Summerville?
That is a tough question because, honestly, I don't know if Summerville historically has wanted, within its corporate limits to bring that kind of industry in. The good news is this, and this is in my wheelhouse, having been on Dorchester County Council for 19 years, we, Dorchester County Council, spent about 20 years bringing water over from Lake Marion to the Highway 78 corridor. And yes, what I am saying is Dorchester County did not have water on Highway 78 from Ridgeville to I-95 until 3 years ago.
Wow.
And it is remarkable, but giving credit where credit's due. Our county administrator, Jason Ward, worked incredibly hard to make that happen. The late Councilman Willie Davis worked incredibly hard to make that happen. Congressman James Clyburn worked amazingly hard. Most of the money that makes this project possible came from federal money. Senator John Matthews, also a wonderful man, has helped us tremendously. And without all that collaboration, none of that happens. But because the water's now there, the Highway 78 corridor, which of course right now is not in the town of Summerville, but the opportunity is now there to bring industry into Dorchester County. You've seen, if you go to the intersection of 187, intersection of Highway 78 and 27 at exit 187, Sundaram Clayton, which is an Indian company that's already hired several hundred people, investing $100 million. DHL is coming to St. George at the Winding Woods Park, bringing 450 jobs, about a $100 million investment. This was not possible 3 years ago. The point there is this: if you're in Summerville and you are concerned about traffic, and traffic's a huge concern, I think it makes a lot of sense as the mayor to be promoting industry coming in west of us. Let's reverse that commute. Let's have people driving west in the morning and east in the afternoon instead of vice versa. And that's going to make a big difference. Also, and again, I'll stay on your topic there. I was going off of it, but I think one of the things that Summerville has not done a good job of is when you think of economic development in Summerville, we probably need to think more in terms of retail, commercial, Class A business space. Think about it. There's no offices in the downtown area where you can actually work. The downtown's great, and I'm not going to level the town. We're not going to change the downtown. It's a beautiful place, but we need more local businesses. We need more local restaurants. We need Class A office space. There are opportunities, literally opportunities. Just close by here sits an opportunity zone coming down Highway 78. The Maple Street extension area, which really encompasses the First District communities, Brownsville, and across here to Germantown. You've got an opportunity zone in that intersection. You come down 78, and it's incredible. There are opportunity zones all through here. That would enable us to get investment in, get more local businesses, and quite honestly, more minority-owned businesses up in this corridor that are in walking distance. And it is crazy to have to get in your car to drive somewhere else. Each of these communities, and we really have 5 different communities in Summerville, need to be more self-sustaining. I'm going to come back to the first thing you said. Summerville is now the 7th largest municipality in the state of South Carolina.
Yes.
And we need to think of ourselves that way. And I don't even like saying this phrase, but you will often hear that Summerville is a bedroom community. Bedroom communities mean you get in your car and you drive somewhere else to go to work, to shop, often to worship, to play. We need to have the opportunities to do all these things here And it can be done. It requires kind of a sea change in how we view ourselves. And again, we're never going to take away, what's been here, and we certainly don't want to take away what is here. And you may be asking me this question, but obviously one of the problems, and you mentioned exit 197, the Maple Street extension coming off the Nexton Parkway. We now have a situation where you have a road that was once just a neighborhood road where people could safely walk or bicycle and children could safely cross the street, that now has unbelievable traffic over there. And worse than that, people, when they get stuck at that intersection, are now passing through those neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods were never designed to have that kind of traffic. It's incredibly dangerous. And even worse than that is that by doing this, by making these changes, we're now threatening the identity of these communities. And these communities have rich, rich histories, multi-generational families, a good bit of what we see, Doty Park, all that. This is, it's been here and been part of the African American community, and it sounds kind of self-serving to say this, but the community has been underserved. Aaron Brown, I think, has done a very admirable job. He's a great representative for this district, but he needs people to walk alongside him and help him. And, I think the mayor, even a weak mayor, is able to come along and advocate for this. We don't want to gentrify this area. That would be an awful thing to do. It shouldn't happen. And I spoke to the First District Community meeting probably 2 weeks ago, and that was a big concern of theirs. And I get it. I mean, having that road 4-lane right through their community over here on the, what was that, the north side? I'm getting my directions messed up, but it really threatens their way of life over there, and it's dangerous. And we need to recognize their community, protect it, and enhance it. I think it's probably the best way to say that.
Wow. Well, it's a lot of information, y'all, that are not pretty much you have to really to grasp and really to swallow humbly to know that things are going on that you may be unaware of here in Summerville, South Carolina. Think about it. North Charleston, number 3, Summerville's number 7.
Goose Creek is number 8.
Number 8. So you pretty much got the top 10 within a good 20-mile radius, less than 20 miles.
That's a fact.
So you pretty much saying from Charleston all the way to Mont's Corners, roughly over close to 700,000 people, give or take.
Yeah.
So you imagine 700,000 people, or within a 30-mile radius, the actual, if catastrophic situation were to happen, how impactful would the interstate be with 700,000 interstate people getting on going one direction? How much hell that would be looking like if we would have those kind of issues. So that's why it's always good to think down the road and to think outside the box. Since you are the out-of-box thinker, we got a couple situations to where Summerville can literally expand on. One is military expansion, given like either any branch of service to be able to either create or expand maybe a training facility or have their own unit here due to the fact that being more government funding, that would help out expand there. Also, there's another opportunity in regards to Summerville that we can not only we can expand the interstate, but you also can bring what's called tourist attraction. I mean, like you mentioned, reversing the lanes. If there's such a lot of open space, you can bring like amusement parks, things that can generate more funding, and that would take away the traffic downtown and focus it on these out-of-the-box type of situations. Is that an idea you ever thought about doing, ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, and again, I think probably the best way to put it is this way. It's all relative, because again, Dorchester County, really over the last decade, has started really thinking in terms of recreational opportunities. And obviously, in conjunction with the November 5th municipal elections in Dorchester, there are two additional referenda. You've got a referendum for the parks, a referendum for the libraries. Well, that parks referendum has a vision for recreation, meaning both ball fields, soccer fields, but also ponds, fishing, community gatherings, all pretty much the things that you have to drive to Charleston County to do. We are working on trying to get that. Your point's very well taken. It is obscene. Dorchester County is the 12th largest county in the state, and again, we probably have the least recreation facilities, public recreation parks than anybody. The good news is they're in the works, and there are going to be opportunities to, have that recreation opportunity if people decide to vote for the referendum. They voted for it in 2016. They vote for it again. That is huge. And what's interesting is two of the parts that are kind of going to be the cornerstone of really what the county's looking at, what the community's looking at, are south, heading out toward Walterboro that way. So again, not only are we not sending people to Charleston, we're not sending people this way, we're actually sending them in the opposite direction. It's, I'll be honest, with regard to the military, that is something I haven't really thought about because, again, the county, the town has never really made a push for that. We basically, collaboratively as a region, just fight to hang on to what we have got. Having lost the naval base, that was a huge loss.
Sure.
I think the region has done a pretty remarkable job of rebounding from that after we lost the naval base. But now the push, and it is a legitimate push from the Regional Development Alliance and the BCD COG, is to having more diverse business community, both race and age. It's amazing the number of, the lack of young people that we have as well, the lack of entrepreneurs, and it is, that is a huge push. I think the opportunities to have a more diverse Summerville, a more diverse region are there. It does require kind of a change in mindset. It really does.
Absolutely. And for those that are listening, the reason why I mentioned military is because if you think about military, you're going to get a diverse group coming in as one. So if you bring like a unit, I don't know if you're whatever branch of service, another thing by bringing in a branch of service or another thing there, it creates government funding, plus you can either, like you mentioned, put in those office space, turning in those other buildings that are next to the actual military bases, being those office spaces to grow and expand. Then also, as you know, with military, you got to eat. You bring that retail side to come in there,
Absolutely.
and then you get that commissary, and you get those other things that will change how money works. Because as you can see, if Uncle Sam sees that you're working with him, then I'm going to give you those tax breaks, and then that mayor can use that funding properly to dish out, pocket those different places.
Understood. I do agree with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Final thought, being mayor of Summerville is a big task. It's nothing that's small. You said I'm gonna take it the helm, I'm gonna ride it like a bull with a horn, and I'm gonna bust through. What are some things you want to see get done within your first year in office?
Again, first year, I think immediately, and we talked a little bit about this a minute ago, but we need to restore Summerville's place at the regional table. To put it in its most basic terms, we need to go back and really restore those relationships because they have been damaged. It's a harsh thing to say, but working on the Regional Development Alliance Executive Committee, which I've done for 7 years, I hear this firsthand, and even though I'm not a member of town government, I get feedback, and the feedback has not been favorable. And if Summerville wants to be a participant in the region, and more importantly, if we want funding, from the region, from the state, we have got to reestablish relationships, work with these folks. The good news is I am currently working with every elected official through a couple different organizations that I simultaneously serve on. I don't have to introduce myself. They don't have to introduce themselves to me. These are people that I know. And it's really been amazing because being on county council, I've been able to meet the folks here locally, meet the folks regionally, work with our state elected officials, but I've also had the privilege to go to Washington and actually ask for funding for Highway 78 for the Lake Marion Regional Water Agency, which, praise the Lord, got done. Senator Matthews, if you've ever had him speak, he refers to building the cathedral, where, building the cathedral, you're going to put your plans and your heart and your effort into something that you may not see finished in your time. And, that's something that a mayor, particularly in a weak mayor form of government, needs to do, because you plant those seeds, you make those changes, you turn things around, and a lot of this may not bear fruit in 1 year or 4 years, but we've got to reverse the course of what we're doing. We've got to change the direction. We have got to tackle the roads, the traffic situation. What I would like to see, and a couple of these projects are already committed, they just haven't started, but we've got to finish the Berlin-Myers Phase 3. The money's in place, $135 million for 3.8 miles of elevated road. It is staggering. We're still waiting for the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, to give approval, but if we could get that finished, believe it or not, it would pull about 25% of the traffic off of downtown Summerville, off Main Street. That would be a huge thing. Right. It's coming. We've got to deal with it, but the Maple Street extension, we've got to finish that, put those intersection improvements in. Traffic is backed up forever. Anybody that's had to travel through there knows it's an awful place. Doing that is going to pull some of the cut-through traffic in those neighborhoods. It's going to make it safer. We can do some safer intersection improvements. The big one, and again, you said it, is Highway 78. That is our primary evacuation route out of Dorchester County. Highway 78 is the spine that runs right through the county. And we have been able, and the we as the county, the state, has been able to bring the road improvements down to about Ridgeville, about Waterwheel, but it's stopped. We have got to finish Highway 78 down to and through the Berlin-Myers Parkway. Talk is cheap. I mean, there's a lot of things, hey, we're going to do this, and hey, we're going to do that, but we haven't done it. More importantly, we haven't started it. All this stuff, if it goes as planned, will happen over the next 4 years. Okay. So you'll see a lot of changes, but I think the mayor has got to push, to fight, to make sure that we stay on track. And, obviously, the low-hanging fruit in that first year is to reestablish that relationship with town council and work with them. Respect them, respect our town employees, respect the constituents who are showing up at the meetings. The mayor's chair is the people's chair. It's not my chair. And if you come to, ask questions, or if you come to discuss a problem, you should be treated with respect. And, I think that's just, basic humanity. You need to do that, but we've kind of lost our way a little bit. We've got to get back on track in that regard.
Amen. So those that are watching us right now, I want you to definitely get your information together. Look up Mr. Bill Hearn right now when you get a chance. I want you to look at every person who's running for mayor in Summerville, South Carolina. It's the time of you need to know what he got to know our information. So I thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for blessing us. And hey, everybody who's watching the Logan Power Show, we appreciate you. We love y'all. And we'll see y'all next week.